showed my brother the hamster video. That was the first thing I did. Nice. And then I pulled up on a separate tab the hamster dance song because that makes it so much better. Nice. So if you have a progressing or if you have a fix for mastery, that's what you do. These are not in MAP yet because if you do it today, you can change your grade into a mastery before they go into MAP. So you do still have another, maybe you don't. Okay. Well, so we're going to do a little bit of volume problem solving, and we're probably going to come back to this on Monday. So I do plan on giving you a few, 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes at the end of class to work on your mastery revisions. But like I said, and for anyone in the video, which I don't know if my webcam's actually working or not, we are doing that on a separate piece of paper. I'm having issues with people doing revisions on their tests, and then it looks like I've marked it wrong when you erased and then wrote new work there, and my pen can't be erased. It gets really confusing, right? So separate piece of paper, staple it to the original. There you go. Any questions about the mastery? It will go in MAP over the weekend, so it's okay if it goes in as a Excuse me. I've drank 0 water this morning. I've only drank coffee this morning. Hey, I dig your color. Water? Stella. Hey, thanks for that reminder. Thank you for joining us, choir people. Anytime. I didn't fill out my tablet. Is it just the same? It's the same. It's that KA. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's that KA. All right, so choir people, what you missed? Ooh, my throat feels so much different now that I've drank water. Like, in a better way. Revisions are on a separate piece of paper. Okay, that's the biggest thing. So if you have a progressing, you could go ahead and put a piece of paper with your test, fold it, staple it, whatever. Now, sorry, yeah, that your plain book is really KA is all assigned. So it wasn't you guys, but the other classes, I accidentally missed some assignments, and then they got mildly annoyed at me because they're like, wait, we didn't know those existed, and I kept talking about a due date that didn't exist for them, and they should have asked. So question. 2 boxes have the same volume. One box has a base that's 5 by 5. The other box has a base that is 10 by 10. So imagine you're in the grocery store, right? You're looking at pasta or something like that. 2 things that come in boxes that the volume, right, the space inside of it is the same. Like a box of Kit Kats. How many times as tall is the box with the smaller base? So turn to a neighbor and chat with each other. What do you think? And can you write something down to defend what you think? Take a moment. Hey, I better not hear I give up. I think I just heard that, and that is not an option. No giving up until May 23rd. I just blanked out and forgot this question completely. It's here in gold. Oh, okay. Hopefully finish building this thing for Mr. Kabila. Random cards. Jocelyn, I forget if I called you yesterday or not, but if so, you just get a double dip. Jocelyn, what do you think? What do you mean you don't think it's... Say more.
compared to what would be the height of the bigger base box? So Jocelyn's saying 4 times as tall. Okay. Victor, you got thoughts on this? Not really? We'll come back to you later then. Isis, you got thoughts on this? Do you agree with Jocelyn saying 4? Do you think, somebody else had said 2. Do you think like a different number? So a half is probably 2, right? A half or 2, like depending on what direction we're going. So guys, right here, we have this formula, and even though I typed it right here, I want you to highlight it or write it again, that this big B, capital B, like guys, I will literally call it Big B, and it sounds like, you know, like some rapper or something like that, like, oh yeah, Big B. But Big B is the area of the base, the bottom, the shape that clones to itself, right? So we said a prism is any copied shape that pulls straight up and has like flat sides, right? So like my water bottle's almost a type of prism, and what sort of prism would this actually be? A cylinder, because it gets that special name. But then this box, if we forget about the lid being a slightly different size, like this is a cylinder, and actually it is a cylinder. If I stand it like this, it's just an awkward one, because part of it has a bigger rectangle than the other part for the base. So we have to figure out the area of the base. So for each of these shapes, let's go ahead and do that. Big B, for my green one up here, I guess I could go ahead and write down here, is 5 times 5, right? The area of a rectangle, because it's a box, right? So this big B is 25. Calculate the big B of the other shape on your own real quick. And then the height, that's how far up it stretches, right? The distance from the bottom up to the top. So I'm going to have these two boxes be equal to each other, they said. Same volume, different height though. So what we're going to set up is that the 25 times some height, we'll call that height 1. Will equal 100 times height 2, right? Whichever box. Is anyone confused on why I wrote this equation? Both of these sides are representing volume. These heights will be different. My green box has a base of 25. My pink box has a base of 100. But if I'm going to set their volumes equal to each other, 25 times whatever the height of that box is, and 100 times whatever the height of that box is, we got to figure out how to make these equal each other. So let's answer this, and then I'll ask again if we're still confused. So Jocelyn said, if I make the one height 1, right, if we make this 1, well guys, what's 100 times 1? 100. So then what would this h have to be? 4, right? Because 25 times what would make 100? Now, if this height is 2, then this one would be 8, right? If this height was 3, then this one would be 12. To make this math true, we can actually plug in whatever number we want and then get the other number off of that. But no matter what, the relationship between these, between each other, is 4. Wait, what happened to my base going from green to pink? What happened to our base when we went from green to pink? From going to 5 to 10, what happened? Yeah, hang on, just because Natalie's got her hand up too. Natalie? It used a scale factor of 2, but what happened to the area of the base?
It got squared.
Well, the 2 got squared, so the area did times 4. Guys, remember what we talked about yesterday, and I can't decide what pen to use. But guys, if the base area, if the scale factor was double, like times 2, remember we square that, and this is times 4, right? What actually happened to that base area, which is why the one height is actually then a 4th of the other height. Or we could say the one height is 4 times the other height. So this was a pretty challenging problem. I just wanted to get our brains turned on. Take a moment to check out Cyrus's problem. I did it for you. So this next problem, like I have done for you, this is really where your notes, like I'm just trying to help you guys out. I need you in the space off to the right to write what I'm about to write up here. Because this is stuff that we don't yet understand. All of this that you see in this first step, that volume equals 1/2 BHL, that is the formula. V equals big B times H.
So, should we write that again?
Yeah, now hold on. That also could be big B times length. Now this is where math sucks. I'm just being honest. This is where math sucks, kind of. I don't actually feel that way, but it does complicate it. If I call this the height, but then I turn it this way, is this the height still? No, it's the length now. Right? So length and height it doesn't really matter. It's what we're talking about is how far is it from the one base to the other. So, Drew, when we're looking at this tent, what would we actually say the base of this prism is? There's a trap door here. You can't pass through. I was just trying to get your head up off your desk. Do you think it's the rectangle or do you think it's the triangle? The triangle. Guys, the base is not the bottom. The base is the shape that like clones itself on both sides. So this triangle, that is actually our base here. So I dislike it when the board does that. I don't know. Label that that's big B. No. I heard Mr. Estes can beatbox. So then, guys, we just got to cover at least one problem. All of this, everything that comes first, the 1/2 BH, that is that big B, the area of our triangle, is half of the triangle's base times the triangle's height. And this is why we don't use height again. We don't say height and height. That would be silly. Since we're using the height for the height of the triangle, we then call the distance from base to other base, we call that the length. So that's where that L came from, is they say, well, since you already used height, let's not use it again. Let's call that length here. Yeah, but guys, if he stood the tent up on its side like I do when I am done camping to shake the dirt out, now that length is a height, right? Like it doesn't matter what you call it, it matters what it is. So they tell us the volume is 4.5. So we can fill in the volume is 4.5. They tell us the base is I should change color. The base is 1.5, and that's labeled over here, so please highlight that. I don't have highlighters up here, but to correspond that here, base, little base, not big B, little b. We can call him Lil B, L-I-L, like all the cool rappers, Lil B. Lil B is 1.5. The Lil H, well, I don't even know if we had a big H anywhere, but that is the height of the oh crap, we don't know that. We don't know how tall the tent is. So that H is the thing we actually don't know. And then the length of the tent from front door to back door is 3. So we fill in that 3 that came from this. And then we do the algebra. Sorry, I know I taught for a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. You can use the rest of this time to work on your mastery revisions on the circles and equations and inequalities test. Well, can I what? We're going to do it on Monday. Oh, careful. Was that a yes? Isis went ahead and did the last one, which, guys, I love that, she was like, well, I'm done, so I'm going to go ahead and keep working. So check it. Isis did this last one perfectly. She set up the volume they gave us. Now, the only thing here that I would change is we don't need this. That would be on your label. Would get the cube symbol. If we don't have a label, we don't need that. So we can get rid of that. But that's the only change that I would make. She set her volume equal to the formula that corresponds to volume of a triangular prism. Because any triangular prism that we have, triangle stretched to another triangle, that's our formula. So if you want to start a formula sheet or something else, this is big B times L actually, but for a triangle, big B is 1/2 little b times little h. We plug in our values, and then we do the algebra to solve. This is awesome. Very good work. Now wait, are you sure that 0.35 divided by 0.25 came out to be that number? Because I think... Ooh, this is 1.4. Yeah. So the only thing that's off here is the answer is actually, we had a calculation error. It's actually 1.4. When you do this division is correct. Doing that is correct. But it comes out to 1.4. We're in here until, we got 5 more minutes. So we got 5 minutes to work on those mastery revisions. I tried to highlight or underline the trapdoors or the things that I thought would help you, But if you're still confused, like, you can come ask me a question. I'm probably just going to ask you a question. Thank you very much. But yeah, you can come ask a question. Yeah. No, so I was going to have you fix it, and then I was like, you did everything right, except for that should have been adding line. Yeah, because you want to use the inverse operation. You did the same operation. Does that make sense? Yeah, just watch out for that next time. Sure. Yeah, we're going to finish that on Monday. Guys, if you work forward in the notes and you're comfortable with me sharing it for the class, you can always call me over and say, like, hey, I've got this if you want it. Sugars. I have a hole puncher. Oh, because your masteries weren't hole punch. I had done that on purpose because I didn't want you taking them out of class. Sorry, my hole puncher's up front by the pencils. It's a Weezer. Yes. Alright, here you guys go. I'm sending this to myself. What's up? That's an exemplary.
No, I know. What is it? What?
This problem was actually really like an exemplary option. Oh, sorry, I didn't put a check back here. This was a sweet problem. You did it right, and you like made up a cool problem and everything else was correct. So that's how you get exemplary for me. Yeah, good work. Guys, remember, mastery is the goal. Exemplary is just like, man, that was impressive. Like, you did everything right. You went above and beyond. You showed your work. Like, most of the time, I will not give an exemplary if you don't show work. I don't even care if all your answers are right. If you don't show me work, I don't really, Alright, so here is the thing I'm making for Kabila. So it's like a little climbing triangle thing, but this will have rock wall holds on it. So like these, it'll have little like climbing holds. And then the other side will be a slide. So if you flip this over, it'll be a slide. But you can also set it up differently. So the hard part was the math of these corners, all these holes had to be like perfectly circular. And I'm going to like cut the edges off of this. So there's still a lot of work I have to do to this. And if somebody's like, why is he showing us this? Somebody asked what my plans for the weekend were, and this is my plans. So then this is another way you can set it up, like lower, or you don't even have to put it all together. So they could just, while the kids are young, use like 2 or 3 pieces. But then if you put it all together, yeah. They're getting cut off. So they'll get cut at 45 degrees, and then it'll all get sanded. Look, I'll probably bring it here to give it to Kabilo, so like you guys will likely see it. Unless he comes to pick it up from my house. But it's small enough I can put it in my car. Oh, I guess I could stop recording. Make sure to like and subscribe.